Hello my fellow kin, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another back-to-back video here this week as GW has just released another article previewing the upcoming Codex for the Leagues of Votann. Very exciting times. Now yesterday we saw a preview of the new army rule and detachment built around the previous Oathband Index one and kind of saw how that new army rule is going to be integrated into the rule set and allow us to interact and play the game at a different level. Now, I think it's extremely exciting. Myself and everybody else who seemed to watch the video, all very excited to see this happen. However, there is a lot of curiosity around what some of these data sheets are going to be looking like in order to really integrate and complement that rule set. So I'm happy to say that today GW has released a second article, this one talking specifically about some of those data sheets for the brand new models that are going to be entering the game, going out for pre-order next week for Wave 2. So with that said, let's dive on in. But of course, before we go any further, a massive thank you, of course, to our channel members, Jordan Stuckenschneider, The Pulp, Sam P, Austri TM, Dabiticus, Travis Taylor, Aaron Easley, Mr. Wolf, Realist Chance, Philip, Ron Helton, Ham Sandwich, Jordiac, Last Dracon, Matt Castro, Alexander Sword, Chaos King Plays, Two Tone Terry, Johnny Fanny, Fabien Desserre, GG, Da Groovy, Anomander, Doorkicker, Ezreal, Rizreal, Kurt Williams, Brandon Murphy, Sanguinius is left nut, KLVI 800, No Sight Tactics, Quack, Remy Marchand, Wix KE, Lane Reed, Josh, Griffiths, Benjamin Roberts, Honeyduck, and Laser. Thank you guys so much for your ongoing support. It really, really does mean a lot. All right, so kicking things off, we have Buri. Now, I will just say, scrolling through here, whoever framed this shot did an absolutely phenomenal job. Beautiful. You see all the new models here, the scaling as well. The Steeljack's looking pretty good. You got the E-Champ on the side, the infantry just lining up against this wall here, with the Grimnir just hiding in the back about to lightning strike this Tyrannid. And the mad scientist, I didn't see this the first time, the mad scientist up here on the building with his blaster gun. Actually looks quite nice from this angle. So it's looking good. And then Buri, of course, up here about to get killed by this Tyrannid for the fourth time. Okay, so talking about Buri. So Buri has his Warglaive that he carries around, and this is what the first preview is. So we get to see what his weapon profile actually looks like. So 5 attacks in melee at, well, first of all, he has 2 different profiles that you can choose from when he attacks. You have your strike with precision, so this is 5 attacks on 2, strength 12, AP 3, damage 3. And then he has his sweep profile, which is 10 attacks at hitting on 2, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage. So you have your strike, which is at a really good threshold, to be completely honest with you, because if you consider that a lot of these elite units are going to be around toughness 6 or less, you'll be naturally hitting them on 2s, wounding them on 2s, pushing their invulns, and then doing 3 damage flat, which picks up a model. Also worth mentioning against knights, a lot of the knights now are, well, basically toughness 11 or less, so you're going to always be wounding them on 3s. When we look at his sweep profile, again, same idea here. It's just pretty good. You're going to be using the 1 damage attack against a lot of things that are probably going to be like toughness 3, right? They have a weak save, so the -2 AP will probably give them no save at all. You hit on 2s, you wound on 2s with 10 attacks. It's pretty brutal against low wound count infantry and low toughness. But what's even more exciting is his Unhinged Vengeance. His Unhinged Vengeance ability lets him do something very cool. Now, as you may recall, he has Lone Op 12 naturally. And what this ability does is if someone does enter that Lone Op range to shoot him, he gets the Blood Surge forward. Not just D6, but D6 plus 2, which is very nice. Now, typically, you know, someone, if you position this guy correctly on an objective marker, someone is going to have to come within about 4 to 5 inches of you to take you off of that objective and take it themselves. Because remember, he gets back up on a 2+. So if they just walk within 12 on the extremity, shoot you, and don't walk on the objective, you're going to just stand up again at the end of the phase and score your points. So if they want to stop you, they have to actually come onto the objective to deny primary. Now, if they do that and they shoot you, you get the Blood Surge into them. And then if you do, you're probably going to have to roll just like a 2 or a 3 on the dice because of the +2 that you get through Unhinged Vengeance. And then you absolutely just pound them away with your strike profile or your sweep, which makes him really, really effective at playing primary and a really exciting tool to have, to be honest with you. Now, I will say, 5 attacks is a little anemic for sure for a character, because even if you hit on 2 and wound on 2s, for example, you're probably going to drop a couple of these. So rather than being just like this, I guess you could say like jump captain beat stick that some of the other armies have, like for Hero Hammer, I think this guy's more of like a support utility piece. He's probably going to be the one that does the killing blow, right? Like as is with Votann, usually everything's kind of working together to take your opponent down or whatever target you're prioritizing. And so I think this guy complements that very well as like the finishing blow. And again, a lot of good utility here, just putting him on an objective and having to make your opponent expose a resource and bring it all the way up to mid-board to stop you from scoring is really, really good. Now, this is an exciting time, of course, for the Leagues of Votann, and whether you're looking to start a new army off or perhaps even just round out your existing roster, you'll probably be pretty happy to hear about today's video sponsor, Secondhand Geek. Secondhand Geek is primarily a second-hand miniature marketplace. They're US-based, but they operate predominantly between the US and Canada. What they offer is a community-focused, secure, reliable, and reputable platform for you to buy and sell your minis. I'll also add that they're pretty cost-effective as well compared to some of the larger competitors out there. So if you're interested in checking them out, consider using my affiliate link down in the description below. Okay, next, we have the Mad Scientist. Now, listen, personally, I'm going to be honest, I'll say it again, I'm not a big fan. I took a quick look before at his weapon profiles, and I have some thoughts. So, listen, he has 3 modes of fire, which I think is very funny. Now, you have the first one, which is half charge, rapid fire 1. So it's 12 inches, 3 attacks on 2s, strength 8, AP 1, 1 damage. So if you get within half range of 12, you get your rapid fire 1 that's added on. So 8, 1, 1. Now, looking at this profile here, I'll just go through all of them. All right, so then the second one is full charge, hazardous rapid fire 2. So it gets increasingly dangerous to fire this weapon, but you get more shots. 18 inch, you can do it further away. 3 attacks on 2, strength 8, AP 2, damage 2. And then overcharge, the furthest one at 24 inches, has hazardous, overcharge, rapid fire 3. So it gets quite lethal. But this profile is actually the best one, of course. It's 3 attacks on 2, strength 8, AP 3, damage 3. So what are my thoughts about this? I feel like the half charge shots, so I think right out the gate, like across the board, the volume of fire is quite low, but of course it's built in to compensate for having rapid fire, right? Like if you get within range of things, you're going to get more shots. I think it doesn't really make sense for me, the first one here, the half charge, because like 4 shots at AP 1, damage 1, you're probably going into chaff, which isn't really enough to kill chaff. So I don't think this is the one you're going to be ever really firing. I feel like it's going to definitely be the overcharge or the full charge. Now again, we don't know what his stat lines are. We don't know what his abilities are. Maybe he has something to reroll hazardous. Maybe he has something that does mortal wounds after he shoots, which would amplify that damage a little bit further. But in my opinion, like these are the 2 you're going to stay in because this picks up Marines. But again, it's such low volume of fire that it's a bit inconsistent. And then this one here being damage 3, strength 8, is really going to be nice at pushing Marine equivalents that you're hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, pushing them up to like a 6-up save, assuming they don't have cover, armor, contempt. So this is quite nice. Damage 3 is always really good as well. The strength 8 here is a little bit low. I think if you were looking at this and saying like, oh, like I want them to go into elites, you're only going to be wounding them on 3s, which, hey, nothing wrong with that. But I think with the low volume of fire, it makes them a little bit inconsistent. Again, thematically, I think this is awesome. I think if you run this guy, you run several of them. And for that, it's because you really just want to have as much volume as possible. Like these are nice stat lines to have, nice damage, nice AP, but the low volume of attacks is what's concerning to me. So I think if you take this guy, hopefully he's cheap enough, again, assuming that his datasheet ability doesn't add like, mortal wounds after he shoots or something. I think you would take a couple of these, maybe 3, if you do run them and they're cheap enough, and then altogether, you basically have like some pretty significant firepower coming out here. Worth mentioning, he also gets lone op if he's within 3 inches of something else, which is pretty cool as well. So he doesn't actually attach, he just gets the lone op. The Mimir, so he has an ability called Computational Mastermind. Now, as they were talking about yield points and previewing a lot of what the models do, they said this guy kind of manipulates the acquisition or the tallying of these points. And reading his ability, it's true, he does. They were accurate with that. So essentially, at the end of your command phase, before you determine if units from your army have like Army Rule 1 or Army Rule 2, for each objective marker you control that has one or more models with this ability within range of it, you can spend or gain 1 yield point. So you essentially dictate, if he's on an objective and you control it, if you want to have +1 or -1 yield point, so just having a little bit of manipulation. Now, I think that in itself for me is a little underwhelming in terms of the amount, but I am 100% convinced that there will be other units revealed or other units in our codex that interact with yield points as well, which will allow you to have a little bit more of an amplified effect, right? Like you're going to really start to see the impact of these modifiers once everything is working together and it's all come together for resource management purposes. So I think it's interesting that we have the option to actually interact with our yield points like that, and assuming that you attach this guy to the Steeljacks and assuming that they are as durable and objective holding effective as GW said they would be, it makes sense, right? Like you attach them to the Steeljacks, you walk on an objective, it's yours, you hold it, and this guy allows you to heroically intervene. He allows you to fire Overwatch for free, which we'll talk about in a second. And then at the end, in your command phase, you get to, next turn, you get to actually change how you want to do your resources. So pretty cool. It's interesting. I'm curious to see, again, how the rest of the army also interacts with these yield points, or if this is kind of like the only guy. But I highly doubt is the only one. We'll see. All right, so talking about Steeljack. So we have those 2 variants, of course. Now, this is the one I was most curious to see in terms of stat lines, and unfortunately, we don't get to see any of them today. However, what we do see is that they overwatch on 5s, and if you're in your second army rule, you overwatch on 4s. Pretty good, pretty good. So you attach the Mimir to these guys, you overwatch for free, and it's going to be on 4s. Nice. Now, of course, we have to see his weapon profile. Maybe it's like 3 shots, AP01 damage, which would be bad. But you know, assuming that he has like a relatively decent weapon profile, then this is actually going to be really nice. Like, there's no reason not to have the Mimir attached to these and benefit from that ability and stand on the objective. And it's a 2-for-1. You get to overwatch whatever walks onto it, and you get to also manipulate your yield points next turn. Pretty good. All right, let's talk about the artillery. Now, the artillery for me was my most anticipated unit being added to the roster. I was really excited about this and had super high expectations. What I was hoping for was, if they did not want to go down the route of like toxic gameplay, strong indirect damage, that they would instead change it to be modifiers. I was really excited for this prospect, and I felt like it made a lot of sense thematically for the Votann as well, because these are basically like the mole grenade launchers, right, that the Berserks have. So what I was thinking was kind of like they shoot their shots, and if they hit, there's like a negative modifier to the movement, advance, charge, maybe to their ability to hit, things like that, on top of doing like some amount of chip damage. The other alternative that I was considering was, looking at the image, the promotional material, it does look like they're carrying around Melta charges. So on the Discord, which you could join free of charge by following the link down in the description below, we were speculating that one of the firing modes would be like a Melta shot. So something that was just like D6 damage, like maybe strength 10, D6 damage if it connected with its target. So, you know, it's indirect, it's not super consistent, but if it does hit, it puts the pressure on vehicles. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not that or either of those two yet. Again, we don't have the datasheet ability previewed, so maybe there is something else here. Like after the shots connect, there's a negative modifier that's applied, which would be cool, and that's what I had theorized the unit would do. But for now, what we have are the 2 modes of fire. So we have Breacher Ordnance mode or Tremor Shells. Personally, I'm most excited for the Tremor Shells. I'll explain why in a little bit, but essentially, both modes of firing have blast, heavy, and indirect. So the first mode is 24-inch range, D6 plus 1 shots, BS 5, strength 10, AP 1, damage 2. The second one, 36-inch range, again, blast, heavy, indirect, D6 plus 4 shots, BS 5, strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. Now, some really important things to keep in mind, okay? So, yes, I refilmed this twice because I came back because this is so important that I misread this. Now, listen. Yes, you have BS 5, and with a penalty of -1 to hit from indirect, you're going to go to a 6 for your BS, which is pretty bad. However, you have heavy. Now, on paper, when you deploy these guys, you're going to put them down on your home field objective, you're going to put them down in your DZ, and you're just not going to move them from there. They're going to screen, and they're going to just be that indirect pressure. So because of that, you'll benefit from heavy every turn. So you'll be on BS5, you're going to go to BS6 because of indirect, you'll go back down to BS5 because of your heavy keyword. Now this is where it gets really exciting. The Army rule, the first instance of it, provides +1 to hit against things on objectives. The second version gives you +1 to hit when you're on an objective. Now, why is this exciting? So we have those two versions of the Army rule. They give you +1 to hit. Now, on paper, +1 to hit does not stack with +1 to hit. So the Army rule, this is my mistake. When I first made the video, and I was like, oh man, that's so unfortunate that they're both +1 to hit modifiers. They don't stack unless there's a negative modifier. What a shame it wasn't +1 BS somewhere in here. A negative modifier is -1 to hit for your indirect. What does that mean? You're effectively going from BS5 to BS4 to BS5 back to BS4. So that means these indirect platforms, once your Army rule kicks in, so if something's on an objective, you're going to hit them indirectly on 4 if you're in instance 1 of your Army rule. And if you're in instance 2, if you're on your home objective, you're going to get +1 to hit. And I think this is actually genius from a balancing perspective because it means you will not always have optimal firing BS on this unit, or several if you're taking a lot. If you want to spam indirect, you can't fit all of them on your home objective. It's going to be chaotic, right? Like you're defeating the whole purpose of trying to screen out your backfield, your DZ. So the ones that are on that home objective are going to get a very powerful bonus to their BS once your yield tokens kick in and you enter phase 2 of your Army rule. And if you're in phase 1 of your Army rule, you're going to have very strong indirect firepower for things on objectives, but it's going to be a little bit more reined in when we're focusing on things that are behind like staging pieces, for example, and not touching an objective. So it's actually a really interesting balance perspective and design philosophy, I think, for this unit, where you're not like penalized for taking so many. You're also not super incentivized to spam them because you'll only get maximum benefit in very specific situations. But I think the sheer weight of fire out of this unit, particularly for the tremor shells, when you consider that a unit is 2, so it's really 2d6 plus 8, and if you take 6 of these, it's 6d6 plus 24 shots that are theoretically, if something's on an objective, hitting on 4s, and then also wounding on like usually 3s or 2s if they're chaff. This is pretty impactful. Like think about matchups versus Eldari, for example. Yeah, they're still going to save on 3s, but here's 40 saves, right? Like I could quickly see this ramping up and getting to be a little oppressive. So hopefully they did actually balance this out with that factor in mind that I said, like you get maximum efficiency at very key moments in the game, comboing very well with your own ability to kind of control your yield points. So at the right moment say, okay, I just want to be able to shoot all of my shots into like my opponent's DZ or my opponent's backfield or staging points rather than on objectives. I'm going to touch my home objective and I'm going to just start raining firepower down on them. So I think it's a really interestingly designed unit. It's pretty cool. I missed that the first time, so big shout out to our Discord member Pulp for calling me out on it because that is a very significant difference from just always hitting on 5s, being able to sometimes hit on 4s. And then the last thing they show us here is the Capri Sun. So the Capri Sun, they unfortunately previewed the transport variant, which we already know what it does. A little disappointing. I would have liked to have seen the actual Defender variant with the guns, just to see what they were doing, because a lot of these guns are shared between the bikes as well, so you could kind of extrapolate what they're going to do to the rest of the army. Maybe that's why they didn't want to show it. It's still going to be a big surprise. But essentially, the Capri Defender, or the transport variant, doesn't do anything surprising. It allows you to split your Jaegers up. It holds 5, so at the beginning of the game, you put 5 in here, and then 5 on the board, just like with the battle line that we have, the Warriors and the Sagittar. So overall, pretty good reveal. I am still extremely excited. I am still extremely optimistic. I know that, like I said at the beginning of the video, my biggest concern, and that of many others, is how will they balance our data cards to account for the fact that we lose +1 to wound, because that is very significant. And I think if we stay at BS4 as an army, it'll be dangerous unless they rebalance a lot of these stat lines. So I was curious to see if they would show us something a little more concrete. Like I was hoping for a land fortress to be previewed, because that would at the very least show you kind of the direction they want to go with the army's shooting output. Like the stat lines, are they going to hit on 4s? Are they going to hit on 3s? Are they readjusting the strength threshold? Are they getting rid of sustained hits? I would have been really curious to see that. I think a lot of people as well. But for now, again, I am still extremely excited and very optimistic that this is going to be an excellent codex from what I'm seeing so far, and a lot of things to be excited about. So let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. Are you excited about this? Are you concerned? Is there anything here you were a little disappointed in? Something here that you were really excited about? What do you think about the scientist? I know that always generates a lot of conversation, so let me know down below as well. Thanks so much for watching as always, and I'll catch you all in the next one.